Hi, good day, everyone. Good afternoon, and welcome to today's live coding session. And as stated previously, we'll be taking Docker and Dockerization of containers for deployment. So, in the last coding session, I spoke about using Docker Desktop, which is the um, desktop version of Docker, which we use the online version for. So, this is the Docker Desktop here, and this is basically it. So we have the list of icons there, containers, images, volumes, blah, 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 and stuff like that that we're going to use. So basically what we're going to be doing today is there will be a Flask app, and the Flask app, we are going to be Dockerizing the Flask app, and then we're going to be using Azure to pick up the Flask app that we Dockerized on this system, and we're going to be deploying it for it to be available publicly. So without getting into much ado, so let us just get right into it. So I will not be going through, okay, my sharing is post. So I won't be going through all of the nitty-gritties of creating the Flask app. I'll just showcase the Flask app to up as probably when we are working with Azure next time. We're going to use an Azure coder to work on the Flask app. But um I think this is something that all of us should know, because I think I've spoken extensively about it. So, but if it's something that anyone is having issue with, something that you can just check online, the Flask app and stuff like that. So it is the Flask app that we saw in our last live coding session, which I put from GitHub. So I'll just be opening the source code here and showcase the, okay, not here. Exactly. So okay, from the share application. So I'm just trying to open up the Flask app on VS Code on my system actually before I switch my screen to my VS Code. Okay, so I'm hoping VS Code does not take too much time on too much tool on my system. So the system is opening up and I will switch my screen to the VS Code screen now. But what is on our screen now is the Docker desktop, and we can see that there's even like an example of a command for what you can do with Docker desktop. So this is where you see the list of your images. If you remember the last time where we said Docker images, so um this is my VS screen for the app basically. So to the left is the icon. So this is the index.py file. So this is the index.py file that we saw the last time, which we linked to the the startup command of the startup file. So I won't be going through all of this today, probably, but the GitHub page is online, and you guys can just work with that. So to Dockerize this today, we'll be working on the Docker file. So the Docker file that we'll be working on, we'll be working on this Docker file from the scratch. So we'll Dockerize the whole app here today. And after Dockerizing, we'll push it to Docker Hub, which is, as I said the last week, is um, a example of GitHub for the example GitHub for Docker containers, and then from there we are going to what? We are going to push use that's if time permits us actually, or what if we don't complete that? As long as we have a Docker container that has been pushed, we can use the Docker container in our next live coding session to do what? In our next live coding session to can use the Docker container in next coding session to start a web app, and then we look for something else to do for the last live coding session for stage E. So without wasting much more of our time, let me get into it. So to do that, I'm going to need to create a file here, and the file will be called the what? A Docker file. So that's a new file. A Docker file. There's something in the world. Okay, so the file has been created now. Okay, so I'm going to edit the file, and if you can remember, as we did the last time, so I'll be using the what? The form command from Ubuntu. So our base image is what? Ubuntu. So this is this is Visual Studio Code trying to use what it knows to just like try to give me an example of what I'm going to need. So from Ubuntu 20.04, I'm going to set what? Control C. I'm going to set the working directory to what? To app, as I said previously. And then, so after setting the working directory to app, I'm going to what? Run apt-get updates. I would also have loved to like skip this actually, and apt-get install. So that will actually take is something that I would have loved to skip, but I don't think I have the ability to do so now. Okay, sorry for that. It's just don't know what's wrong with the laggy network. So I'm going to copy requirements. So this is the requirement file that we all need for everything. So requirements.txt to app/requirements.txt. So now I'm going to run the pip install. Cache that. I'm not going to run this command. Requirements. And then the last thing I'm going to do is to do the CMD. Until comma wonderful index dot py. Okay, so I'm going to tell you guys how I'm naming it this way in a few minutes. But tag go add any password, and I'm going to tag this v1 dot. So we should see a list of Docker trying to use this Docker file to try and build up this image, so we can have a Docker image that we can work with. So Docker is something that is quite heavy on the system, so this might take quite a while. Exactly. So the building process has started. Okay, so this is all the process working one by one. Mm. Okay, so while all of this is going on, I can just like try to show us what Docker hubs look like using Chrome. So let me just come here. Okay, so let me just open Docker hub here. Login. Okay, so logging into Docker hub, I will show you a list of my okay, so sign in. Okay, so I'm just checking the progress of this offline. So we are still downloading quite a lot of stuff actually. So let me just, okay, I've logged in. So these are actually most of the image that I've pushed to my Docker hub over time. So any of these images, all of these files here, all of these icons here, they are just showcasing what when I have the last time that someone has what downloaded
Um, I think he's having a little bit of technical issues. Let's just give him some time to join back. If he doesn't, we'll have to reschedule. Thank you.
okay. Sorry, welcome back, guys. Sorry for that disruption. It was just I don't know what's wrong with this network, and it never does like this when I'm not doing things like this. So, just to not to waste much time. So let me just get back into this. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to be skipping through to the part of what's deploying with what Azure, because waiting for the Docker to what the Docker process to finish is going to take quite a while, and we won't be able to cover all of that in this session. So I'll just skip through to the part where we have a deployed container for my what for my the part where we have a deployed container for my Docker hub. So we're going to be pulling that Docker hub image, and we're going to be what deploying that Docker hub image using what Azure. So after doing all of that, I can drop the Docker file. The GitHub page is always available for you to go through. But the process that we're going to use to create the Docker file is everything that I've listed in the previous section. And all we just have to do is for what? Wait for that all of the Docker image to be built, and then we are going to what push it to Docker hub. So we won't have the leisure of time to do all of that now. So what I'll just be doing is I'll be using a deployed a Docker image that we have already, which is what can be Dockerized in a container. I'll just use my Azure account, and then I'm going to what show how to just deploy from that. So I'll be sharing this tab now, and then I'm just going to log into my Azure portal. So this was what I was hoping the process will be able to streamline for us to just showcase the Docker part today, and then use the same container for this session during this next week. But then I've seen that that is probably not going to be the best option. So I'll work with So I work with deploying from the Microsoft Azure portal today. So after deploying from the Azure portal, then the next thing we'll do is we are going to be working on using um, Azure Studio, the ML Studio, and then deploying those studios, like connecting DevOps practices to machine learning deployment solutions. So without wasting more of our time, so let me just log into Azure portal and then start the whole process of deploying this. Okay, so I think as let me just exactly sharing the screen. Okay, so I'm going to have to log in here. Exactly. So I think I've not signed in on this profile before, so I'm just going to have to re-sign in here. No, no, not this account. Okay, okay. I think I have to switch what I'm sharing. So let me switch to another profile. Okay. So I hope you guys can see my screen now. So let me just try logging in. I'm using a guest profile where there's no account that is going to be disrupting. Okay, sign in. Okay, email.com. Oh, sorry. Okay, All right, so they should send me email to verify my identity. Okay, so that's 2964779. So all right, so here we are. So what we are going to be doing is the Microsoft App Services. With the Microsoft App Services, we are going to be what selecting the Docker Hub as the what as the so this is the app service that we used that we connected to our what to our DevOps project the last time. So I'll just be creating a new web app. Okay, exactly. So when we are let me just open up Docker container on this side. Um Docker Hub, sorry, I have to log in Docker Hub here also because I'm using a guest profile where there will be no issues. I have a lot of accounts that try to get conflict with each other. So let me just sign in here exactly. Sign in. Yeah, and yeah. Normally I should get my password in 3 tryouts because it depends on how hectic that security protocol was when I was creating the password. So exactly. So Flax Docker image, Linux tweet app, Udagram front end, blah blah blah. So I think let me see this image. Okay, so V2, we have a Flask image, the Flask game. So if I click on the tags of this, you can see that. So I had 2 times that this Flask image was pulled. There was the first time which was what the very first time 4 months ago, and then there's a version. So this is me. You can see that with Docker, you can see you can decide to pull this version to deploy to your web app. You can also deploy to what pull this version. So what this does is allows you, it enables you to when there's an incremental change. This is just because I did not like try to name it anything V2, which did I put first and latest. So this is trying to this gives you the power where you can, okay, you can test different stages at different push at different sections. So when you are containerizing and you are giving them tag names, you can remember when I was trying to build that image, I wrote the name of the Docker image and then I put a colon and then V1, V2 or thereabout. So it allows you to be able to know that, okay, this is the what, this is the stage at which these changes was made. So you test when that change was made. And it's something where you can immediately go back to a previous Docker push, a previous Docker container where everything was working perfectly. So that's also a way for you to what to do version control, and that is what provided by Docker Hub. So I'm also going to show you the builds. Let me come here and then click on this V2. So this is where you will see a little bit of what it is that we have that we put in our what in our Docker file. Exactly. So you can see that we have this the way Docker images work is that everything is done in layers. So when you do the build command, so it's we the way we write the Docker file is we write a CMD first, a this, a that. So all of those things are seen as layers, and the first layer must be done before what the second layer is worked upon. So if the first layer is not done, the second layer that's once is only when the first line of code has run completely. That's when subsequent lines of codes under will also run completely. So these ones here are just what the ones that what they are used automatically by Docker. The very first I wish I could get this Docker file to show you, but the very first thing we set in that Docker file was for us to say that we want what our base image to be on Python. So that's the very first thing: environment, Python Vision, environment path, CMD bash, blah blah. So after that, you can see that we have this stuff called CMD Python. We have this work directory. So I think this should also be what this should be familiar to you guys because we have used it twice in this live coding session now. So this is where we set the work directory to be code, and we said that you want the requirements.txt, blah blah blah, copy requirements.txt, and then we also ran a pip install. So the pip install used the what? The requirements.txt file. We also did a copy dot dot where we copied everything that was in that folder where this particular image was built, and we copied everything into here. And then the last thing we do, see that this one does not have any space because this one only runs when what the app has what been opened successfully. The CMD file that does what that opens the app. So that's all of the layers of this. So you can, in a way, you can go back from this image. You can, in a way, try to get back to the Docker file that was used to what that was used to create this. And even when you spin up a container with this and you use the bash of that container, you'll be able to get what all of you can copy out all of the files that was inside that container, copy it to the new system, and it's a way for you to what get back your files. So I'm going to come back here. I'm going to be using my subscription as well. Let me use this LCS winter subscription, and the web app name is going to be, let me see, app from Docker. I don't actually know the exact app that was it because I rarely keep Flask apps that I have pushed on the Docker container. I really keep them there. So I'm just going to, it will be, I hope it's a app that is not a backend app and a front end app where we can see what is running. But in the meantime, let me just, okay, so I'm going to select that we're using a what? A Docker container. So if we're using the Docker container, this is also another issue. So whenever you as the one that built the Docker container, you know if you have used a what? A Linux OS or a Windows OS. When you are using, you know, when if you remember me correctly, when I was explaining that part when we say from, I told you that you can see from as saying that you want to specify a what? An operating system. So if at that point when you were saying from, what is specified was a what? A Windows based OS or a Windows based image. Well, at this point, you'd have had to what select what Linux. So in our region, East US is the region. So this is the Linux plan. So I think the Linux plan is the free plan that we have always. Once you, I don't think there's a free plan for Windows. If you switch to Windows and okay, you create a new one, but there's no free plan for Windows. So I'm going to come back to Linux. I'm just saying, just for future reference. So this plan was created for our previous app, actually, the demo recommendation app that we did the last time. But there's no need to create that one. So we're just going to use that. So we are working with a Docker container. It's Linux. We are putting it in the HDSC, and the next stage is to select the Docker container. So we are going to be working with a single container. So Docker Compose, I hope, is something I also spoke about in, because today should be the last day of this stage, or just a few days. But I hope you guys know what Docker Compose means. So this is a way where you can have multiple containers all doing what the same thing. Let me see if I have a container that was built with Docker Compose. What are they name? My I should be able to see my repository somewhere. Exactly, next year, Twitter, Udagram. Oh, I see. Something like this. I think when I built this, all of this 1, 2, 3, 4 were built with Docker Compose then. So in a way, if you have a Docker Compose file, but normally it should not showcase this way. The Docker Compose should just show one image and then show all of this as sub-image under that Docker container, basically. But these were built with Docker Compose. So I'm just trying to say that you guys should know what Docker Compose is. Docker Compose is a way for you to start up what different containers using different image, and all of them are grouped as one. You get, it's just like, for example, say working with a module where you have different, like, it's just like saying different microservices which are all grouped together under a single what architecture. But each containers are different, each Docker images are different, their Docker files are different. But use Docker Compose to spin all of them what you spin all of them simultaneously. So when all of them are spinned up simultaneously, it also gives you a way to what connect each of them without having to go to the extra steps of connecting them externally. With Docker Compose, they cannot be connected internally with something like that. So the image source. So there are different ways. So Docker Hub is not the only place where you can store Docker files. So this Quick Start is another place that you can. Quick Start is them giving you a sample for other Docker. Let's say you want to work with the Docker file here. This is where you want to create the Docker file. You use the Quick Start. When you use Quick Start, you see, you can select a sample or something like that. But you can also keep stuff. So Azure also has its own what is Azure Container Registry. So if you don't want to push the Docker Hub, they can also put what Azure Container Registry. And there's Docker Hub. There's also a private registry. So your company or your organization can have a private Docker registry where they are keeping their Docker containers and their Docker files. Organizations like bureaucracy and they like keeping their stuff secret. So they might not want you to use HDSC, even though these registries also have their own private version where things are not allowed to be seen, but they might have their own private one. So you must know the ways to connect what this. You see, you need to have a server URL, blah blah blah. The way for you to authenticate into your private registry. Even GitHub itself also has a GitHub container registry. I don't know, most of us here we do not complete most of us did not complete the last of the continuous deployment lab. But if it is something that was completed, you guys would have, and you were going through each of the process that the actions was taken, you'd have seen a place where the action was trying to call something from GHCR. So GHCR is GitHub Container Registry. So most big platforms, they have their own container registry that is easy to streamline with their own processes. So you see that GitHub, there's no GitHub Container Registry here because there might be issues trying to connect Azure, even though it's owned by Microsoft, but stuff like that. But when you're on GitHub, it is easy for you to use the GitHub Container Registry and stuff like that. So we are going to select Docker Hub. It is a public container and the image and the tag. So I'll come here and specify the image and the tag. So where are you? Flags Docker image, exactly. So this is the image. So you can just type it anywhere you want to do it, but I'm just going to copy this here and Control C, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to paste this. Okay. So this, there was a time that I had an issue where whenever I copied the image, I'm trying to see, I think it was also from here, but I don't know why. I think there was a place that I was copying from. Okay, let me try to copy from here where space was being introduced in what I was copying. If you get what I mean, like the text I was copying had space contained in it. So anytime I'm trying to deploy, I'll get an error. I don't know. I think there's nothing like a space issue here now. But anytime I was trying to deploy it, I would get an error. Why? Because there was like space introduced into what I was copying, and for a while it bugged me down. So these are also, I'm just saying it for like future purposes when you're trying to copy online. So there's a way that when you copy online, or is it from here? Let me see if I copy from it. But I know that that time I was working with Docker Hub also, and I just tried to copy from a particular place, and there was an issue. Like every time I'm trying to deploy, there's an error, and the reason why I had that error then was because of the space that was introduced. So okay, so that I'm just trying to say it. So the startup command, we don't have to provide this. Why? Because we have provided a startup command for the CMD file already. So I'm just going to breeze through all of this. We are enabling public access. We don't really are not concerned with all of this. So what are they new on Flask image, CS, winter, blah blah blah, and stuff like that. So we are going to create this now. So initializing deployment. So if this works successfully, we'll be able to access the web app, and the web app will just show me what was inside this Docker image that we had built previously. So the deployment is still in progress, and this should be up in a few minutes. Okay, that's the first deployment. So that's the first thing. So let's go to the resource. So this is the app from Docker. So we can see that it has been deployed successfully. So let me just read. There will be an app. So let us just browse it, and I hope it's a GUI app or something that I can remember what we created easily. So it is still coming up. Container is running. If there's an issue, you can also check the logs of the container. So I think there's a way where we can see the JSON view of the full properties of this web app. Exactly. So you can see that this is the title, the name from container, blah blah blah. So this is the link. So from Azure WebNet. So this is just a list of all of the internal properties of what of this container and what it needs. So this is the where we are putting the Docker image v2 and stuff like that. So I think it is up now. So you can see that we are playing with Docker, a simple playground. Yes, exactly. So this is what this is what I created last time. So I just created this to just what a simple container. So behind this is a Flask app, and in that Flask app there's an HTML file in which the HTML file. This is what I wrote there, and you can see that the title is we are playing with Docker. So it was just a simple app that was built for us to just like see how it is to connect, go from Microsoft what to go from Microsoft web app to what to a live app that can be what can be made the public app. So that's basically it. I just want to come here and see a list of my repositories to see if I have any other thing that might be a little bit more exciting. The Linux Suite app. Okay, I think this is another thing. This one was done. Okay, so all of these, I would have chosen one of these, but most of these are what they are backend apps that were created with they were created with what's the name of this stuff there? I think there was this course I was doing. So that was we created this Udagram, blah blah blah, exactly. That Coursera DevOps cloud development course. So they are backend and there will be no they have to be interconnected and there's no way for me to start developing all of that now. So this is the only GUI app I have here, unfortunately, because I don't keep most of my apps on what on Docker Hub. Most of them are mostly on my local system. I have the Docker file. I pull it up and then I run it. So I would have loved for us to see that version of the what of the app that I was creating, but it's something that will take so much time that even at the moment, me checking it here is just the second stage that has been run since. So the part where we are going in the sudo apt.get. So we will not be able to do that. So I hope at least we have been able to get something. We have been able to move from Docker Hub, which is here where you have a list of all your repositories, and coming here to what to your Microsoft Azure where you can deploy a web app using the what a Docker container. So this is the same process that will be followed for any other container that is created. The only issue you can want is when your container is large and what the free plans cannot what run those container. And anytime you run into an issue where you see that your container is not working as expected, on your left hand side you see a lot of different things that you can use. There's the review, there's the activity log. So this activity log is what you need. So when you click on the activity log, you see a list of all the events that has what happened in your what in your web app, the Docker container update website. Okay, is this what I need? So login tools. Let me just come exactly monitoring. This is what I need exactly the logs. So when you come to log analytics, you see a list of don't need this up, thank you. So you see a list of different things that have been what you can query all of your logs, or you can just see all of them in blah blah blah. There's also metrics and alert. So these are the things that you use. If there was an issue with this stuff, this is where we'll be able to what troubleshoot and check what is actually happening in this Docker container. So um the only exact thing that can happen is when you spin up a container with your web and it's not starting. And why will you not start? Let's say your container is too big and it cannot fit into the free plan that you have selected. So you might have to start again and select what a bigger plan or a paid plan that uses what more memory and more RAM. But the whole process that we just did today is the same process from moving from your from your Docker Hub to your to your Microsoft Azure. And the only thing I feel that we should have spoken about was how to move from our local system to Docker Hub. But that's the reason why, if you can remember when I was naming the for my local system, when I was building, you can see that I tagged it when you're using the Docker build slash T, which is the tag option. You can see that I specified who are they name first slash then the name of the Docker file. So as long as you specify the name of your Docker Hub username, as long as you specify the name of your Docker Hub username before and a slash before what specifying the name of the file, all you just have to do is to say Docker push, the way you use git push. and to push it to your repository automatically as long as you are logged in. If you are not logged in, it will ask you for the credentials to log into this repository. So it's just like you saying GitHub push to a particular repository. You can see that it called it repositories also. So all these are seen as repositories, and it must start with your username. You can try and create another repository, but the only namespace, the namespace you have, you can create another namespace, but originally your namespace is your username, and that's all. So after building your Docker image, you give it a tag where the first thing you put is your Docker hub username slash the name of the file, and you use Docker push command. So after putting Docker push, you come here, you can see your Flask, you can see your container, you can see your image, and this thing can be taken any other place. So anytime if I venture my system gets spoiled and I need any of these Docker files again, I can the way I can go to GitHub and create forks or clone them. I can just come here and just also download this. And once I download this I can pull this using Docker pull. And when I pull this image comes to my local system. And I've also shown us how we can go from a Docker container that can only be accessed by us or on our system and making it something that can be accessed publicly. So once I share this link to any other person in the world, they can also log in and they will see this exact same thing that is there. So that is the methodology of when we say in DevOps, we are working with microservices. So each service is deployed as a separate container, and all of these containers are deployed on each other. So there's the main container that people are going to be accessing that deals with the connection of all of these small containers that will be interconnected with each other. So with that, we have come to the end of today's live coding session. I hope you guys have at least learned something and seen something new. So our next coding session should be Thursday if the way things work out as is our schedule normally. So if there will be any change to be communicated to us, I wish us all a wonderful rest of the day, and I hope we have been able to learn something. So my name is Olabi Adenio again, and goodbye everyone for now.